All right, so this video is going to be a beginner's guide to dating in the West. Whether you're a beginner South Asian brown guy who's moved to the West and really trying to understand the dating process, or you're a guy who's, say, brown, Indian, and you've grown up in the West, but you're just struggling dating, maybe getting second dates, third dates, so on and so forth, right? This is a really great beginner's guide on the dating process and how to properly date in the West in 2025. Starting with date number one. The first date you should go on with any girl needs to be low investment. Honestly, your first date should be approximately around an hour, low investment. She needs to get that sense of comfort around you. You, in turn, need to be confident, know how to flirt at least a little bit, know how to hold a conversation, have good body language, and being able to just vibe overall, right? The whole point really is to just see if that vibe, that romantic connection is there and see if you guys have any similar interests. But in addition to all of that, right? The first date, you should always strive to have location movement. Whatever occurs on this first date, at the end of the day, you need to make sure it just doesn't come off as too like job interviewee. Whatever you do, just don't make this a job interview, okay? That's the worst thing you could do. And that's why I say you should have some location movement combined with low investment, okay? So what I'm talking about specifically here in terms of example dates could be coffee date, ice cream date, frozen yogurt, getting a smoothie. But the thing is, like I was saying earlier, you don't want this to be job interviewee. So doing something like coffee, ice cream, froyo, smoothie, it's not that expensive. It's low investment. So if you guys don't vibe at all, right? It's not like you're going to feel that bad. You didn't spend, over $70 on dinner. But instead of sitting stationary at the coffee shop or the ice cream shop or the smoothie shop, you need to couple that by going for a walk. So get the coffee, the ice cream, the froyo, the smoothie, whatever, and then go for a walk in the city, right? While you're sipping on that coffee, while you're having the frozen yogurt, simultaneously, you should be going on a walk, town center, maybe a nice park, a nice trail. That is a really solid, standard, good first date. Low investment, movement. It's not going to be awkward where you guys are sitting at a table staring at each other, okay? It's just staring at each other, asking each other questions like a job interview. At least there's movement. You're walking around, right, in public environment. There could be cool things going on around you, right? Even commenting on things around you, as you're walking with the coffee, the frozen yogurt, right? It's just a really good, chill vibe. It's so much better, so much more active and engaging than you just sitting there interviewing her and her interviewing you back and forth. That's really boring. So some more logistical things about this date. It should be, again, around an hour-ish long, the first date. And you do need to flirt. Playfully tease her. Don't be afraid to crack jokes. Make her laugh, okay? And flirt a bit. So for example, the first thing that I do when I go on a date with a new girl, the very first date, I don't go up to her and shake her hand. I don't go up to her and fist bump her. The second you see that girl, you go in for the light hug. So go in for the hug when you guys meet, okay? And then you have to offer a small compliment. So what I do is go in for the hug, then give her a cool, lighthearted, playful compliment, right? Kind of a small flirtatious compliment. So I usually comment on something about what she's wearing. I make a compliment about her style. I'm like, you look really nice today. I really like your style. Something subtle and small like that to really spark a little bit of flirtation, especially saying that after you lead with that light hug, sets the tone for a little bit of flirtatiousness right off the bat, as opposed to you just shaking her hand or dapping her up or just sitting there stationary interviewing each other, okay? So remember the basics like that. Now, when you guys are out on the walk, after you guys have gotten the coffee, you're sipping on the coffee, going for a walk around, Obviously, get to know her a bit, vet her well. She was probably going to ask you a lot of questions. You as the guy, again, listen, okay? Listen to what she's saying. Point things out that she's saying. Actually get to know her. Take interest in what she's saying, okay? Don't just sit there and talk about yourself all the time, okay? And actually point things out, right? You know, make small comments rather than questions, okay? This isn't a job interview, okay? Stop doing job interviewee based dates. If you ask her, do you have any pets or are you into dogs? And she says she has a golden retriever, be like, that's so cool. I've always wanted a golden retriever. I've always wondered what it's like to take care of them. I know they're a really cute dog, but I heard they're pretty messy. And then leave it at that, right? You're not asking her a question back. You're talking about something, pointing something out. And guess what? She is going to start doing more talking about her process of having a golden retriever. She is then going to comment on what you commented on, right? You see how it's different from just typical, what's your favorite color? What do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do for work? Yeah, that's going to come up a little bit, right? That's just natural. But the whole date shouldn't just be 20 questions back and forth, okay? Have a good blend between compliments, commenting, and questions. Now, don't just go rambling on things that you're not that familiar with, right? But you get the point here. You know, it should be a blend between questions, compliments, flirting, and comments, not just 20 questions back and forth, okay? And with that being said, you know, you guys are walking 15, 20 minutes around the city center. You should see if you can find a park bench, right? Sit with her on the park bench at some point, you know, say for about 15 minutes, you know, after you guys walk around for about 20 minutes, see if you can find a park bench. I like to call this the classic park bench game. So if you see a bench, ask her, hey, do you want to sit for a bit? So you guys are going to sit on the park bench, right? Continue at the conversation for a good 15 minutes. Read her body language. If she's sitting fairly close to you, right? She has very good body language, not super closed off body language. Slowly scoot a little bit closer to her and then slowly put your arm around her, okay? This is flirting 101, okay? You started out the date with a nice compliment, went in for the hug, was a little bit flirty, complimented her style. Even if she's not wearing a stylish outfit, making a very small comment like, you look really nice today. Even a small flirtatious comment like that sets the tone way better than just, hi, nice to meet you, handshake, and then sitting down asking 20 questions, right? Now, don't be a simp and just do, you know, compliment after compliment after compliment, right? But starting off the date with a little bit of a flirtatious tone really sets the mood, sets the tone for the step that I'm discussing right now. Start the date being a little bit flirty, get the coffee, go for a walk. Don't just do 20 questions game when you're on the walk with her. Comment on things she's saying, point things out, and ask her a little bit of questions, right? Make sure it's a good blend. And then after about 20 minutes or so, you know, see if you can find a park bench. Ask her if she wants to take a seat with you on the bench. Ask her, do you want to take a seat for a bit? Sit with her on the park bench, continue the conversation. Then at some point, slowly scoot towards her, slowly put your arm around her. Maybe she's wearing some cool jewelry, you lightly touch her hand, right? Now, if you slowly put your arm around her, she pulls away, looks uncomfortable, right? Then use your common sense. Obviously, you're not gonna do all that. You're not gonna go in for any kiss. But if you made it to the point where your arm is around her and you guys are vibing, she's laughing, good convo, good eye contact, better open body language, right? Slowly go in for that kiss. And if she pulls away, then hey, it just wasn't meant to be. If she pulls away, then it's fine, right? It takes girls sometimes a little bit longer to open up, right? But overall, read the vibe, read the body language, okay? No pressure. For a beginner, honestly, you know, I recommend just taking it more chill on the first date. Just do the basics, focus on the basics. If the vibes, the signs aren't there, she's not even being that super flirty back especially, all right, don't bother going in for a kiss. The park bench thing, slowly scoot next to her, slowly put your arm around her. Even for that, she backs away, it's chill, right? She backs off, you back off, it's okay, Sometimes it takes girls longer to open up like that, right? But overall, in terms of the actual first date, this is the basic process. Low investment, see if there's a connection, right? A little bit of flirting, don't make it 20 questions. Grab a coffee, smoothie, ice cream, go for a walk around the city. Solid, very solid first date. Whole process should take you around an hour. Then after the first date, tell the girl, text me when you get back home safe. Done. Very low investment, beginner first date. Perfect first date, right? Because if there is no vibe, no romantic connection, you flirted, she didn't really seem very receptive, she didn't flirt back with you, right? The body language was off, then you have nothing to lose, right? It's not like you spent all this money on doing a dinner date or anything like that. So that is the date number 1 process, okay? So with that being said, now let's hop on to date number 2, okay? Date number 2 serves to build and keep amplifying that attraction, okay? If you've made it past the first date and say a couple days later you text her, ask her out for the second date, she agrees. Obviously, if she's going on that second date with you, that means you had a solid first date. So on the second date, it's really all about continuing to showcase, build, and amplify the attraction, more so through more fun dates, right? A second date is a really good time for her to see that fun, adventurous side of you, okay? The first date is to see if, there's just that basic vibe, a connection. The second date, you build and amplify that connection through doing a more fun, adventurous type of date, right? So because of that, you're trying to amplify the attraction even more. The second date should be a little bit longer, I'd say around 2 hours. And the second date is a really good time to really trigger that positive emotion on her end, right? Through an adventurous, fun date. So examples of adventurous, fun dates for the second date could include mini golf, bowling, karaoke, ice skating. In the West right now, in the US, Canada, right, it's colder out. Ice skating is really great. Arcade date, really fun. And nothing better than bringing out the excitement than doing a fun activity date. And here's the thing on the second date, right? They'll start opening up more if they really feel you. A lot of times, the second date is when they become a lot more touchy-feely. And the second date, you want to take it up a notch on your end in terms of the flirtatiousness compared to date number 1. So for example, between bowling sets, spend some time with her between each of your guys' bowling sets. Have like a flirtatious compliment. Say she bowls and she gets a strike, compliment that. Be like, dang, you gotta teach me your ways. Something about attractive women, they're so good at bowling. You see what I did there though, right? I'm like, man, it's something about attractive women. They're always so good at bowling. So if she gets a strike, or knocks down a bunch of pins, say something about that. Give her your arm and be like, how do you position, your arm in this bowling ball? You're so good at it, right? If she's really feeling you, she might even start touching your arm, right? There should be lots of opportunity to do these more flirtatious types of gestures. So that's why it's so important to pick activity-based dates. Mini golf, bowling, so many opportunities to comment on things, position your body language better, flirt with her. Ice skating, for example, or even rollerblading, right? You have literally an excuse to hold her hand. Maybe you're not that good at rollerblading or ice skating. Maybe she's not that good at rollerblading or ice skating. You guys can literally hold hands as you skate around the arena. These second dates should be fun, exciting, and it should be a date where there's plenty of opportunity for you to flirt and take that connection to the next level. So with that being said, here's something that usually happens right after the second date. From my experience, if the second date went well, Now, obviously, since I'm on the second date, the first date went well, right? If these first 2 dates go well, towards the end of the second date, if you've done everything right by now, what usually ends up happening is the girl starts really feeling you. Usually after the second date, the girl will lean in and go for the kiss. The girl will be more touchy-feely and then go for the kiss potentially at the end of the second date. A lot of times what I've noticed, it's usually after that second date where she's gotten to know you and the attraction is amplifying. It's a fun date, right? A lot of times, like 8 or 9 times out of 10, after that second date, that is when women, if they're really feeling you, they'll really make it known. They'll have good eye contact, be more touchy-feely, and 8 or 9 times out of 10, after the second date, if she hasn't kissed you on the first date, she'll kiss you on the second date. I'm telling you, right? Dating really does become effortless when you've mastered the types of dates, the dating timeline, and how to flirt and how to really conversate with women. It does become effortless. And if you can do that and spark that positive emotion on her end where she's really feeling you, you're just gonna amplify a girl's attraction to the next level, bro. So that is my game on second dates. Keep it around 2 hours. It's usually gonna be around 2 hours, and it's gonna be, a little bit more expensive than date number 1, okay? So real quick before we hop into date number 3, top link in the description is my South Asian Warriors school helping single South Asian men level up their dating life. None of this is even gonna matter if you're not able to attract women initially in the first place, if you're not even able to set up dates, go on dates, get women into your dating funnel, get matches on dating apps, or if you have approach anxiety, right? If you're struggling getting more dates, if you're struggling attracting the women that you truly wanna go on dates with, check out the top link in the description. Join my school community where you can get the help you need to transform your dating life as a single South Asian man. Top link in the description if you're interested, okay? So with that being said, let's hop into date number 3. So if you made it this far, date number 1 went well, date number 2 went well, okay? Now you're on date number 3. This is really kind of like the turning point, you could say. There's a couple options you could do for date number 3. So she's gotten to know you at this point, right? Say date number 1, number 2 went well. After date number 2, you do the classic, text me when you get back home safe. She texts you. She's still texting you after the second date, right? You guys are making a little bit of small talk. Then you plan a third date, right? The type of date that you should plan for date number 3, since she's already gotten to know you, you've built a little bit of comfort, right? Date number 3, I suggest if you can cook, invite her over to your place, okay? Invite her over to your place if you can cook, if you have your own place, that is. If you can't really cook and cooking's not your thing, that is where you can do a nice dinner date. Never do dinner on the first or even the second date, but the third date, at this point in time, she's starting to invest more into you. I think dinner dates are a pretty solid option for date number 3. Now, for the dinner date, right, you want to do, say, dinner and drinks at like a nice rooftop lounge. And then afterwards, you could honestly just invite her back over to your place for some drinks or just to chill. At the end of the dinner date, just be like, had a great night, no pressure, but there's a really cool bottle of wine I'd like to split open pretty soon. Do you want to come chill at my place? Grab a bottle of wine? Or even just simply after the dinner date, just be like, this is a really fun night, no pressure, but do you want to grab some drinks at my place? And if you don't drink, I don't drink, I simply suggest, do you want to go back to my place after this? Hang out for a bit? Don't overcomplicate this. Most of the time, at date number 3, this is really the turning point where you can really take this potential relationship to the next level. So date number 3, again, if you can cook, straight up just invite her over to your place for date number 3. Have like a bottle of wine. If you don't drink, have, maybe some fancy non-alcoholic drink, right? And then, obviously have your place cleaned up, good to go. Make sure your Netflix is working or have some type of activity that you guys can do after dinner at your place. Most of the time, it's just gonna be chilling on the couch with a nice drink, watching TV. And that's where, you scoot close to her, cuddle a bit, right? Flirt, and, the business meeting at the end of the night often tends to happen, if you know what I'm saying. This is a great night. No pressure, but do you want to come back to my place, grab a drink, hang out a bit? As simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to do any fancy lines, okay? It's not rocket science. Date number 3, make it more formal. Not saying you gotta take her to like a fancy, 5-star restaurant, but have it be at like a somewhat nice dinner spot. There's a solid amount of investment already on her part if you've made it to date number 3. Most men can't even make it past the first date. So go to at least a somewhat decent dinner spot and then either get drinks at your place or just invite her over for dinner and then have like a glass of wine at your place afterward, right? Not that complicated. You need to get your own place, bro. You can't be living under mommy and daddy's roof the rest of your life. I get it. A lot of brown guys stay at home, live with their family. And honestly, I would argue a big reason why a lot of brown men struggle with dating, a lot of it also has to do with that aspect. Women aren't gonna come over to your mommy and daddy's house, And that's why, dating, you really do have to have the basics of your life together when it comes to dating women who are at least looking for a serious relationship, right? When it comes to dating a girl that you want to actually get into a relationship with. The SMV, satisfying her hypergamy, right? The basics of it need to be met. So if you're a, brown guy who's broke, living in your mom's basement, and you don't have your own place, it's going to be significantly harder to, progress to date 3 and, finesse date 3, especially the end of date 3, right? Because you don't really have a spot that you can take her to. Now, with that being said, I'm not going to leave you hanging, right? There's always the option to go back to her place, but just think about how, that sounds. And don't get me wrong, if she's really feeling you, there's a good chance that she could invite you over back to her place afterward. So it's not necessarily end of the road, right? If you don't have your own place, but this process is going to be significantly easier just dating, especially dating to get into an actual relationship. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be a lot easier when you have at least the basics of your life together. And that includes having your own place, or at the very least, if you live with roommates, it's at least one step better than living with your mom and dad, right? At the very least, bro, don't be living in your mom and daddy's basement and you're trying to get into a relationship, right? It's going to be a lot more difficult. So with that being said, if you don't live on your own, you kind of just have to cap it off at dinner and then maybe do like an activity afterwards, right? Maybe there's like a nice game bar. You guys can play some pool, some darts, right? Finish the date off after that. But honestly, at this stage, if you're in your mid-20s, late 20s, and you're trying to get into a relationship especially, no excuse at the very least to, not at least be living outside of your mom and dad's house. No excuse to not at least have your own place away from mom and dad. At least at the very least, have a space away from the house that you grew up in, right? So anyways, for those of you guys that actually do have, your life together, right, and do have your own place, or at least at the very least have roommates and have, your own room within the house, condo, or apartment that you're in, right? Invite her back to your place, right? If you can cook, that's great. Simply just invite her over for the 3rd date. If you can't cook, go out to dinner at a decent location, then afterwards invite her back to your place. No pressure, but I have a bottle of wine back in my place. Do you want to come chill for a bit? Something like that after the dinner date. If she's really feeling you, chances are she's going to say yes, all right? And if you don't drink, then you could still say, this is a really fun night. No pressure, but I don't live too far from here. Do you want to hang out at my place for a bit? That's it. Say something like that. If you've done all this right, she's really feeling you, okay, she'll agree to go hang out in your place. Date number 3, more formal date, and cap it off with having fun and the business meeting if you do get into that. Now, when it comes to business meeting, I'll let you guys interpret what I'm talking about. So, with that being said, these first 3 dates are really the beginning of the dating timeline. It's a pretty standard dating timeline when it comes to dating women in the West. This is a very beginner's guide on how to set up dates, progress through the dating timeline when it comes to dating Western women. If you did everything right and date number 3 also was a success, you'll start noticing that she's gonna be reaching out to you more. She's gonna be the one that starts planning dates more after date number 3. There's like a dynamic shift in the relationship where she's putting in more effort. She's texting you more. She really is texting you random things throughout the day. It's gonna start to feel like you're actually in a relationship. Now, it's stupid to get into a relationship after just 3 dates, right? You gotta date the girl for around at least 3 months. But usually what happens is after date number 3, that's really the shift. That's really the turning point. After date number 3 is when the girl really decides, like, okay, this guy is great. I've gotten to know him. I could really see a future with this guy. I could see us potentially going all the way. And if your first couple dates were successful date number 3, I'm telling you, and you unlock that emotional trigger, the dynamic of the relationship is gonna shift in a way where she starts hitting you up to hang out more. She starts texting you multiple times during the day, right? That's just how it works. And really after date number 3 is when, the full positive emotions on her end really get activated if you did this entire dating timeline correctly and it was successful. This is how to properly date Western women in 2025, whether you're a brown guy who's come from, say, somewhere in South Asia and are starting to get immersed in American culture. Also for you guys that might have been struggling to get second dates even, struggling getting multiple dates after the first, these are some good suggestions on the types of dates you should go on, right? How to flirt with girls, right? The types of conversations you should be having, as well as how to really lead on dates, okay? A couple quick logistical things, right? The first couple dates, especially, you're usually gonna be the one that sets the location, time, and place. After the 3rd date, that's when you're gonna see really the dynamic start shifting. She's gonna be hitting you up more, right? If she's really feeling you, she's gonna be hitting you up to go on dates. She's gonna be texting you a lot. So with all of that being said, this is the dating timeline, how to properly date in 2025, beginner's guide. Any beginner can follow this, start to finish. This is how it goes, bro. So with all that being said, again, if you're a single South Asian guy who's struggling with your dating life, click the first link in the description, check out my South Asian Warrior School, like and subscribe, drop a comment below, and I will catch you in the next video, homie. Peace.